First, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kadash, and the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. The shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four corners of the earth. You know, coming into this truth, going out there and teaching, making videos up to 3 times a day or however more, you know, because as Apostle Tahar has put it, you see something going on, you see corruption, you get angry and you want to expose it, or you see what another brother has put up there and you want to edify that brother by putting it up there, you know, so, you know, that's what we do. So, anyhow, we got, you know, over the weekend, have false flags to continue the presence of U.S. troops in Syria. See, they not only want to do a strike, which their strike, obviously Syrian air defense systems, had shot out 71 U.S. missiles. And a lot of the U.S. missiles didn't even make their target, but what they did hit was a science research facility, which is really for pharmaceutical, and it has nothing to do with chemical weapons at all. It has to do with, you know, medical, you know, so that's what they did hit, and then they hit an airbase in Homs. But there's been a media blackout as well. You know, Paul Bailey had, you know, whether you like him or not, Paul Bailey had done a video concerning Netanyahu, Benjamin, not a Jew, that he was going to actually bomb Syria, you know, that he was going to do an airstrike in Syria. Hold on a second, I just now realized something here. But he was going to bomb Syria. And so he did last night, but Chris Green, a.k.a. Alternative Media, which, you know, you have the other guy that works with him. Give me a second here. Sorry about this act. Just trying to get my garments on, you know. Because, make no mistake about it though, the Iranian airbase was targeted, and we already know that Benjamin, not Jew, is infatuated with Iran. Which we know that the prophecy says that the least of their flock shall draw them out. That really this whole thing has been a Mossad operation, because that's who ISIS is. The Israeli Secret Intelligence Services, you know. Everybody knows that that's what the acronym for ISIS is. That's not Islamic State, it's Israeli State, you know. And Amalek is the least of Esau, Edom, and it's pretty much been whatever the Zionists want. That's what's going to happen. So of course. You know, we know that Donald Trump announced that he was going to pull out troops, but we knew that was a lie, because we know Donald Trump is 100%, you can say it, Israeli, is 100% Amalek, you know, as he's their puppet. He's their puppet politician that pretty much does whatever they tell him to, you know. You know, these people are pretty much hired to do whatever the deep state tells them, you know. And so we know, though, that part of the deep state that it was to overthrow 7 countries, and we can see that the last 2 is Syria and Iran. You know, they've already pretty much made their moves against Yemen, been making the moves against Yemen. Libya was taken out, Iraq was taken out, Ukraine, they invaded Ukraine as well. And we also know that when it comes to so-called alleged chemical weapons attacks, that, well, the United States is guilty of Agent Orange in Vietnam. Another brother had put that together, you know, and that killed crops and everything else. And they're doing the same over here, chemtrailing us, killing crops and creating poisons in the air. It's in the water we drink, it's in the air we breathe, and of course it's in the food that we eat, GMOs. And all the other stuff that they put into medicines, you know, that end up destroying your system. And we figured out, though, that it's all witchcraft. Well, witchcraft just means the form of deceptions. Doesn't necessarily mean opening up a spell book and, like the images that Esau gives you. Ooh, oh, if I could cast an evil spell. It's not that. It's not like Gargamel and shit like that. Witchcraft comes in all sizes and forms. Most of all, the mainstream media, run by the Zionists, run by Amalek, is their main source of witchcraft. But you got witchcraft and, the religion. They use religion, And religion, of course, has fucked our people up, especially stretched Christianity. That's the head of them. But you got all these other ones. You got Islam. You got, a.k.a., Greek mythology, which is what the hell doctrine is. All these other doctrines of devils, which are Edomites, which are the wicked. And so, all that's taking place. But they're saying that there are casualties at this Iran base that was hit, which we know that Benjamin, not a Jew, is always obsessed with Hezbollah in Iran. So he directly targeted Iran. And what has Chris Green said for years, if you've been watching the alternative media, because that's how I got into this truth to begin with, is that I noticed, though, that the media was lying, before I found out who the so-called white man was, that he was the devil, a liar. But I always knew that the media was lying, so I started watching alternative media years ago. And rather than using Facebook, I use Twitter, not because I post stuff, but because I want to get updates on things. So, pretty much what's happened, though, is there's a total media blockout, because we know that the Zionists still run Twitter. Of course, because celebrities get on there. Donald Trump gets on there. But what's happened is they have targeted Airbase inside Syria that happens to be a part of Hezbollah, Iran. And so, it's really about going after Iran, which we'll see Benjamin, not a Jew, start this, because it's always them, and of course, to the average Joe, you are expendable. Sylvester Stallone made 3 movies, The Expendables, so you're just expendable. But what they're not telling you, they'll tell you that the mission's accomplished in Syria, right? And that, until this situation is calm, that they cannot remove U.S. troops. These are the latest feeds that are coming out, of bullshit D.C. And the funny thing is like, I watched the thing on Rupley and on Syria TV, ever since the attacks went off. And I can tell you, them motherfucking Tomahawk missiles are crap. They are crap. Syrian air defenses was able to take them out. 71 of them were shot down. So it's garbage. They really didn't make their targets. Syria had met them. They have a defense system, so you're not going to be able to bomb Syria in the way that you thought that you could. Not like it was when so-called U.S.-led strikes against ISIS targets, which we know that was bullshit. It was destroying infrastructure. Syria actually has defenses, and so the reason why they're targeting the bases, the air bases, because that's why Homs was chosen to hit that air base, is because, of course, to take out the Syrian Air Force. If you take out the Syrian Air Force, you pretty much take out their defenses, then they could pretty much launch a direct invasion into there. We already know the United States is in there, but they want to fully go in there and take out Bashar al-Assad, a ground invasion, a full ground invasion. But you can't do that if the airfields are still active. You can't do that if Syria still has a strong military. You can't do that with Russian presence in Syria. And Russia, Magog, is not going to allow the United States to just go in and overthrow. But you see, it's the Most High who has drawn them in, drawn this whole thing in, He's hardening Pharaoh's heart to go in. And then, like everything else, though, Israeli state would have a very hard time flying their... They claim that they could fly their F-35s into Iran. But we'll probably see more developments there as well. And in the meantime, Saudi Arabia is going to continue bombing Yemen. And everybody, is going to be worshiping the Saudi Crown Prince. Even WWE is doing an event in Saudi Arabia, so, pretty much we know that Saudi Arabia is really another state, just like Israeli state. And you may as well call Saudi Arabia a state, because the deep state runs that shit. You know, just like they run the United States. But the whore, Babylon the Great, America, taking away the whore and getting that destroyed, which is what we're praying for. We want America destroyed because this place fucking sucks. I mean, who can actually like it here? You know, unless you're an Edomite. Or you've enjoyed the benefits of being in Esau society. I just don't see how our people can. But then again, you know, they've been turned over to a reprobate. And reprobates, make no mistake about it, are just as bad as being like Esau Edom. I mean, what do you think the scriptures are about? Well, first of all, who's he talking to? He's talking to us. He's talking to us, all Israel. And it tells us time and time again, do not be like a heathen. Do not be uncircumcised. Do not be like Esau. And he's talking to us, man. Don't become like the heathen. Don't become such as wicked as Esau. You know. So we know, though, that they're lying. Of course we do. And so we know that there's a media blockout on this, but it's really about a war with Iran, and we're going to start seeing that shift into that as well. Because they can't get the Syrian government, but this thing's going to escalate to where they will launch a ground invasion into Syria as they start to make their moves towards Iran, by weakening Iran with taking Syria. But you see, this is where, this is the valley of Yahweh's judgment, you know, and, well, like everything else, though, I've been sticking glued to this, you know, catching posts and all that just to see what's going on, you know, and I try to give updates on this channel, as you know that I already have a strike on this channel for, you know, pretty much exposing a false flag, you know, and pretty much it, quote-unquote, went against community guidelines. They didn't say it was copyrighted, they just said it went against community guidelines, you know. But, of course, we know who's running everything. The deep state, the Zionists, you know, those fake-ass Jews. So, in the meantime, you know, let's just keep on rehearsing righteous acts. We're almost done here. But there's a couple things that have to take place before the final. But we were already determined that this is the year of prophecy, and we're starting to see the Damascus prophecy unfold, you know, as to what's going to bring it out to where Damascus eventually is destroyed, becoming a ruinous heap. You know, we're seeing that come, but in order to do that, though, they would have to fully invade Damascus, or do a nuclear strike against Damascus. Well, whoever fires that, which I could see Amalek doing that, and then boom, America, Babylon the Great is taken out. And that's probably what's going to start it, because it just seems to fall into place. It seems to make the most sense that, you know, it's a nuclear strike that takes out Damascus. You know, because obviously Tomahawk cruise missiles are shit. You know, they're a piece of shit. And that's the funny thing, listening to this fucking goddamn Pentagon brief and say that it was a success. Yeah, I would say that the Russian air defense systems in Syria were a success. You didn't hit shit. You just wasted $200 million on this strike. So America is fucked. And, you know, that's another thing, is that the prices are about to change in May. You know, that's when the tariffs are really going to start showing, you know, when the prices are about to change. So, you know, Chris Green will tell you just to be a prepper and about how he gets a Maserati and how he's made money off of this, you know. But we've been telling y'all for a very long time what was going to take place, you know, and to prepare for it, you know. So we were the first, you know, and Esau has seen us. Abu 7's run into us, which we still believe him to be a confusion of face, but they know who we are. And we've been prophesying the downfall of America, Babylon the Great, World War III, the mark of the beast. We've been prophesying that for a very, very long time, you know. So, hope this has been edifying, and again, want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash. Trying to get used to saying that, because we now understand that that's the ordinance of things, you know, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, you know, not to be a parrot, but to actually have everything in its proper order, You know, now that we understand how this works, and I highly recommend that video. Yahweh Shai is Coming Back channel has the video about why we pray Ba'Shem Rakah Kadash. And so, you know, well, I'll be talking to y'all more soon, you know, because this thing's going to keep on escalating, and so now's the time to go out there and teach while we still can. Shalom.